go, Michael. We are back on the road. How are you today?
AGTP, Martin, on the road. How are you doing
Yes,
today?
exactly. Doing great. Doing great. Thank you very much.
Look. I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome everybody to the AGTP Daily. You know, Martin. Normally we go live
Mm,
every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern
yes.
time to discuss the most important tech stories in the U.S. And we love going live. But
Mhm.
sometimes, because we don't want to let our viewers and our listeners down,
Yeah.
we can't go live, but we still have to go.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like we still have to do it because if we don't show up, then we don't show up. Then what does consistency really mean? It doesn't mean anything.
It's not
But
good.
we are always here. It's not good. So today, not at the same time. Tomorrow we will have a taped version, and what is it? Thursday as well. We will be on tape, but we will be on.
Yes.
And I would say this actually in advance for the days if we ever have a day where we don't do a show, it probably means one of us like broke a leg, broken arm, broke a neck, or some such thing. But it's
Yes.
unlikely that you and I will ever not just show up for no
We
reason and not announce it. This is not going to happen, is it?
we don't want to do that. Nope, we don't want to do that. We
No.
always want to be here and at least say when there is something changing, like today, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody can tell. Like, I don't live in this room. This is not my studio. I don't even
I
normally
think
wear this shirt.
we are spending so much time in this room, Michael, nowadays that maybe people are going to believe that we
People
live in
think
this
we
room.
do live in this room. Maybe they think the other room is where we're traveling, and this room is definitely where we live. It's possible. It's highly possible. Look, Martin, it is Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2026.
Yeah.
As always, there's a lot to get to. And, you know, Apple was doing their WWDC Worldwide Developer Conference, and they talked a lot of stuff about AI. Again, I'm going to go through this. They're betting on device AI. This is a very
Mhm.
Apple thing. We're going to talk about that. And OpenAI, the next thing we're going to talk about is OpenAI says everyone should have personal artificial general intelligence.
Mm.
I don't know. When we get to this topic, I may make the case that I feel like I already have non-artificial general intelligence. Don't
Okay.
laugh at me.
Okay.
Laugh
Okay.
with
Let's
me,
see.
please, but don't laugh at me.
Yes, I laugh with you,
I know
Michael.
what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Don't overestimate your general intelligence. Maybe you need some artificial intelligence. That's probably a better way to say this.
A
Okay,
little bit. Mhm. Go ahead.
a little bit. Anyway, so we're traveling. Um, and to be fair, I mean, I'm going to say it. We're in Singapore,
Yep, we're in Singapore, and we're actually going
and
to
we're here
record
for
tomorrow and
yeah, we're
Thursday
going to
from the
record
Super AI. Yep.
from Super AI. That's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's not super. It should be pretty super. We were there
Yep.
today, setting everything up. It was kind of super. Okay, let's get to the topic. So I don't know if everybody remembers this, Martin, but I know you do. 2 years ago, almost to the day, it was June 10th, 2024. Apple made a big, gigantic, like ballyhoot announcement that AI did not stand for artificial intelligence. I know I can see you're checking the date, but I already checked it. Um, they said it was Apple Intelligence, and they
Mhm,
said what
mhm.
Apple was going to do was going to be different.
Yeah.
They were going to do all this stuff, and they, WWDC every year is in June. A
Mhm.
thousand people, 2,000 people go. It's like a pilgrimage, right? They go to wherever Apple's holding it on their campus. They go into one of those fancy rooms that they have there. I'd love to go once. I've never been
Mhm.
invited. I don't know why. Apple, if you're watching, I'll come. Anyway, so that was a fail, and it was a big fail, and it was
Mhm.
a very public fail. And to be fair, it was a very un-Apple like fail. Apple rarely
Mhm.
announces stuff
Mhm. It's true.
that they haven't vetted and tested, and I think they felt some pressure, right? Because it was 2024, so ChatGPT had actually been released, hadn't it?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Right,
November
and we were just
2022
about to
for
get
ChatGPT.
yeah, 2022, right? So we were just about to, and there was a lot of hoopla, a lot of stuff
Mhm.
going on, and I think for the first time, Apple panicked a little bit, and they're like, "We don't have any AI, but we're good at this stuff, so let's announce it." Anyway, it didn't work, and they literally came out, I think, in January of that year of 2025, and they were like, "You know what? Our stuff didn't work, and we're not
Mhm.
going to release it. And if we do, we're just going to release it in phases for the stuff that we've tested and the stuff that does work." And that actually never happened either. And Siri, which is Apple's kind of really only interface that uses,
Mhm.
I would say,
Mhm.
some kind of modicum of artificial intelligence, continued to be the topic of conversation when people went out and were like, look, Siri's been around for years now. Apple had a head start on this. And at some level, they just dropped the ball.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Apple. made an announcement, I think a couple of months ago, and I think we did a segment on this, right, where they said that they were integrate Gemini
Yes.
into Siri, but also integrate other things into Siri as well. And to be fair, Martin, last night you and I had a very long discussion about like some of the other large. We talked about Anthropic, we talked about OpenAI, we talked about the other frontier lab guys, and like who was going to do what in AI, what Amazon's strategy was, what Google's strategy was, what Meta's strategy was. And we kind of came up with Apple's strategy was not much of a strategy because they don't have to. And I think what they announced today at WWDC kind of corroborates. I'm curious what your opinion is on this, but I think it kind of corroborates what we were saying in the sense that maybe they don't have their own internal strategy. But let's talk about this, okay? Apple says that they are rebuilding Apple Intelligence around a more open, layered architecture. I like the way you're already laughing. I haven't even said a full sentence yet, and you're like, and to be fair to everybody else that doesn't know, that didn't listen to our conversation in the hallway, we kind of did a little bit of the podcast before the podcast, so I gave you my opinion on this, but let's wait to get to that in a second. Now, the core pieces of this, the main part of this is what they're calling the foundation models framework.
Okay.
App Intents, private cloud compute, core AI, and expanded multimodal capabilities, which is just like standard stuff that you would have, right, if you're doing AI stuff. But here's the thing that they're doing that's different, I think, this time. They want AI, and in this case, they're not calling it Apple Intelligence, they're calling it artificial intelligence, right? But they want AI to sit inside the operating system. They want it to sit inside the apps. They obviously want it to sit inside Siri. They've been saying this now for years. And they don't want it to behave like the standalone chatbot. And that's interesting, Martin, because the reason why we were talking about this last night, remember, was in the context of OpenAI saying, we don't want a chatbot either. The chatbots are over. Chatbots are dead.
Yeah.
And that to really do this, and remember, we also said, we didn't say that OpenAI was going to build their own operating system, but we did say that they were going to build, or that they're considering, or they're thinking about building their own super app, which in a way where everything is like AI native, and that maybe is the new operating system for the way this stuff is going to work, if that makes sense. And the other big difference here, and again, jump in whenever you want, but there's a lot to talk about here, is that developers can now access Apple's on-device foundation model. So developers, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe like just for the audience, let's define on-device. On-device means that the model is going to run locally on the device, right? So which means we are going to install an LLM on our Apple devices, right?
Yeah, but think about the implications of that.
Yeah, I think this is huge.
Okay,
I think this is huge, yeah.
It's gigantic, right? Remember, Apple has something that they put on their device called the Secure Enclave.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think they actually have a very specific chip on which that enclave lives, and nothing else is on that chip except the Secure Enclave. And it would make sense to me that that's where all that stuff was. And you're right. So what does that mean? That means they're going to build much more efficient foundational models because they want people to be able to make images plus text. They want to have like vision tools on there. They want to be able to switch models. So in other words, if you want to use Gemini, or if you want to use Anthropic, or if you want to use OpenAI or ChatGPT, you should be able to do this on device in real time.
So let's maybe talk about that first, if that's okay. Just like the idea of on device, because I think I love this idea. First of all, I think it's really, 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 really cool.
To be fair, I want to just say this to the audience. You've been talking about this thing for a while. Go ahead.
Yes,
this is not your first cut at this.
Yeah, no. This is definitely not my first cut at this. This is part of how is going to look like AI v2, right? And that's a possibility, right? That we can start running models on the machine locally, right? And I love that because in a way, this is one of the largest tech companies in the world. We say, okay, we are going to make that work, which means they have resources, they are smart people, they have 2 billion devices in the wild, they have the resources to actually really try to make that work, right? And in case that works, it's going to change completely the way we use AI. It's going to be a massive, massive competition to the models provider, right? And once again, when we say, okay, who's going to make money in the next 5 to 10 years, if tomorrow running models locally is an option, once again, this is going to be really serious competition, right? To stay in tokens. So I love this idea. I think it's really, really, really great. if we can do that, because it means that they would need to improve the hardware, they will need to improve the software, they will need to improve the models, like everything, like nothing is ready as of now to be able to do that. So they will need really to work on every piece of the chain to actually get somewhere that is good. Today it's bad, really. I think like this is the fact, right? Like, this is where we are at.
Can I just interject here? But don't lose your thought, because I'm in my head, I'm just struggling to remember. Like, we had a conversation with somebody recently who said, I encourage my team to use some tools that aren't like approved. And while that's not the official policy, we kind of like look at each other and just shrug, because they make us so much more efficient.
Yeah.
And I finally remembered who it was. We're not going to say who it was, obviously, but the point is that, like, there are real people doing real stuff out there. And one of the points that person was making was, in the role that we have,
it helps our job.
There's not a lot of proprietary information. So we're not so worried about, like, if you're putting private information out there or customer information out there, that's a bad thing no matter what you're doing. And you should not be using tools that you're not approved to use. But in this case, their point was, we don't have a lot of proprietary information. We're being more creative than anything else. And that's not so proprietary. So in this sense, we just kind of shrug our shoulders and do that stuff. But because the secure enclave is there, sorry, go ahead.
No, this is one of the largest advantages, right, of running a model locally, is that all of a sudden you are not sharing your data with any model.
That's the point.
Provider. And so maybe the audience, don't have this type of problem, because if you just using AI by yourself, you don't have a lot of data that is so important that you can share. But for very large companies, it's a really big problem. Really, like a lot of companies don't want to use OpenAI, don't want to use Anthropic, because they don't know how their data are processed, or they know and they don't like it. So a lot of them are actually exploring already like open source solution, or already implementing open source solutions to actually install them themselves on their own servers and then not share the data with anyone. So it's already happening at the enterprise level. A lot of people do that, but it's not really accessible to everybody, because the cost of the hardware is way too high. And second, as of today, the model that you can install locally are still far behind the Cloud Opus and the OpenAI 5.5. So which means you are not going to run the latest in AI, and you are not going to get as much power from your AI as the other guys who run Opus or GPT 5.5 will do, which means you are going to be left behind in a way, right? And nobody wants that. So that's why, like, right now it doesn't work. It's too expensive and the model are not good enough. But I love the directionality, because if it becomes possible, and there's a lot of possibility, right? Like the first one is, I think, like on the model side, they are way too big right now, right? Like they are like in the trillions of parameters, and you can just you just can't install like 1,000 gigabytes of RAM on your iPhone, right? It's not going to work.
Or 11,000 cores of NVIDIA chip on your phone. Your phone will be like, wow.
It's just not going to work. So that's why, like, they need to improve the models, make them smaller, more efficient. They need to improve the hardware to make them cheaper as well and at scale. And they also need to improve the software, so the two together will work well. And so that's why, like, they really need to work on every piece of the stack. And once again, it's a company that has the resources to do that, right? So I really like this idea. I hope they can make that work, because if tomorrow, when you buy an iPhone or when you buy a Mac, you have a model that's inside and that's as helpful as Opus 4.7 today, or Opus 4.6, it could be good, right? And if it takes a year to get there, or 2 years to get there, we could end up in a situation where, I don't know, we have a subscription to Apple for $20 per month to AI, and that runs a model locally that's good enough, to actually do a lot of stuff. And for a lot of people, we don't need to pay for our OpenAI subscription or our Cloud subscription, right? I think Opus 4.6 is the model that should be the target, because it's good enough for a lot of things, and that's the model basically of 3 months ago. So if the open source model are like 3 to 6 months late, it should be available to us to install locally by the end of the year, let's say. But it's way too big right now, so we need something
Yeah.
smaller.
I was going to say, one of the big benefits of using Amazon for artificial intelligence through Bedrock, right, is that you get access to all the models. And
Yes.
this is a big shift for Apple as well. But one of the things that they're saying is that from now on, it's not just going to be only Apple features that Apple
Yep.
built themselves. They want to turn it, and this is where I think it gets smart. Although can they actually accomplish this is another question. But they want this to become a developer platform. They want to now make it so that the cloud models such as Claude and Gemini and other providers conform to like Apple's what they want the LLMs to look like, so that people can then get third-party access through their apps to be able to get access to that stuff. And you're right. Look, Apple makes so much money from other things. This may be a shot across the bow, as we say. To people going like $20 subscriptions, who cares?
Exactly.
Right, because they're going to give you access to it, even if they have to pay for the token stuff, which again is up to debate. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
But remember, the other important thing here, Martin, is remember like a few weeks ago they did say that they made an announcement where they were just going to use Gemini everywhere. And we talked about this. We joked about it a little bit last night, but somehow I don't know why it's on the top of my head. Google was like, "I found a date to the prom. I'm going. I have a date. I have a boyfriend. I have a girl. Whatever it is, I have a girlfriend." And Apple was like, "Yeah, no, I'm seeing other people." Like I forgot to tell you that, but like we have an open relationship here.
You know what would be interesting, because at the same time, Google released Gemma, right, which is a much smaller model. So actually, maybe a V1 of AI on device could be when you buy an iPhone or a MacBook, you have Gemma installed by default. We can do the small stuff, and then when you need the more powerful stuff, you need to connect to the internet to actually connect to Gemini Pro for example. And Gemini Pro comes with a subscription that Apple distributes. That can be V1, right? That can be just just to show the stack and how this is going to be implemented. And over the years, Gemma is going to be much more powerful, so it's going to be able to do more stuff, and then we are going to need less AI in the cloud, because AI locally will get better and better and better. But if they start with something like this, it should already be super helpful for people, first of all, but also just to show what would be the flow, like how it's going to work. It would be a real test to actually, would people use Gemma locally if it comes, within the Mac itself. As soon as we buy the Mac, the model is already here. And then how do we, does the split between the local model that is not so strong and then the cloud model that is much stronger, does that work pretty well, right? Does the switch is seamless? Do people understand why they need to pay for the Google Gemini subscription? Does that flow work? Because if it does, it opens a lot of doors for Apple to actually, then build up onto that, make it better over time. And Michael, I think if we still have a very long term, if we believe that the models could be a commodity, Apple just need to wait a couple of years until that happens, and then they can build their own models, and then they just say screw it to everybody, and then that gives them two options: either the model don't become a commodity and they keep working with Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, and everybody, or the model become a commodity and then they build their own in a couple of years and bye everyone. I think this is really smart, and that could work, really well if this flow works. Install a local model and then upgrade potentially to something stronger. If that works, it will be really powerful, really powerful. I can see that very nicely.
I can see all of these things potentially coming through. And to be fair, you've been talking about this for a long time, and a lot of the stuff you've been talking about, you've been getting right.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's because I use AI myself, right? And so I see, I try to imagine how that could work into my own workflow. But actually, we spoke about that yesterday on the show. You build an app using AI yourself this weekend, right? And you had to install Codex. So you had to install Codex. You had to go through a few connection. If tomorrow you have Gemma installed natively on your MacBook Pro, and you just say, okay, accept, to just give him access to calendar and everything, you don't need to install anything. You can just use the Gemma app that's natively on your MacBook Pro to build your app, to connect to your calendar, and to do all of these things. That would be so good, right? The the barrier to entry would be so low, right? It would be so small that it would just democratize the access to AI at scale, and that would be
Do
really
you
useful.
remember? Do you remember when we were at AI Engineer a few
Yeah,
weeks ago in Singapore?
yeah,
Do we live in Singapore now? It feels like kind of we live in Singapore, but anyway.
we definitely
But
do.
you remember there, the guy who was doing the robotics, right, said
Yeah,
that
yeah,
all of their stuff was on the
yes,
robot.
yes. You're right, and we were like, "Wow,
Because
this
they
would be
don't
cool."
need
Yeah.
access. But the part
Yeah.
of the reason why is exactly what you were saying. They
Mm-hmm.
don't need access for any particular robot to
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese
Exactly.
and to physics in Portuguese. Do you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't make any sense. That's not what the robot's going to be doing. It needs
Actually,
access to the things that the robot's going to be performing. Sorry, go
that
ahead.
that gives me an idea. Like on the MacBook Pro, or I think
Mhm.
any Mac, actually, any Mac for sure. If you want to install a new language, you need to install a new package. Like it comes maybe with one
Yeah,
language
yeah,
by default, which may be English,
yep,
right? But if you want to install French or if you want to install German,
yep.
then you just
You
need
have
to
to
wait
do it.
a little bit to download the package for the language. We could
Yep,
imagine something very similar. Like you have a very little version of Gemma, once again, or any other, and then you have the module for coding, and then you have the module for French, and then you have the module for Portuguese, and then you just download them and that takes space on your hardware, and that's good because then you need a build machine, and then you just run it locally, and that would work really well. And Apple, I think, would know very well how to integrate that nicely with all the different apps, and that could. I think that would democratize the access to AI at scale in a way that no one else can do. Microsoft could do the same thing, right? And
yeah.
that's pretty much what they are doing. But the OS are in a such strong position to distribute AI, especially the on-device AI. It's really strong to me.
So since Steve Jobs came
Mm.
back to Apple in 1997,
Okay.
one of the because that's when they called it an iMac, right? The first machine that
Yeah.
they made was called an iMac, and the reason why for people that are scoring at home was because that was their first machine that was kind of natively connected to the internet, which
Mm.
today seems
Mm.
quaint, but this was 1997, which was what, 600 or 700 years ago. So in
You
in
remember that,
technology
Michael?
time,
How was
I
that
do. I
time?
was there. It was cold. It was cold, very cold. Not a lot of blankets, not a lot of heaters, some kerosene, but otherwise not much. Um, but the point is that once things got connected to the internet, Steve Jobs was very, very concerned about privacy.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
and like when you have this kind of charismatic leader, and you'll see where
Mm.
this is going in a second, because I do think it's important. When you have a charismatic leader, he says Apple, as a manifestation of him, will
Mm.
always be concerned about our users' privacy. Again, something that Google doesn't really care about, Facebook doesn't
Mm.
really care much about, other big tech companies kind of don't care. But Apple was always committed to this, which is why they have this secure enclave, why they've built all this kind of privacy
Mm.
stuff, and why they don't save any of your data in the cloud. Some of it gets saved on device, but that's for you to use, not for them to use. And there was a concern when Tim Apple Tim Cook, excuse me. When Tim Cook, that was on purpose, by the way. Again, for anybody who's scoring at home, that was on purpose. But when Tim Apple became CEO, there was a concern that he was going to be like, privacy, schmivacy. I don't care as much.
Mm. Okay.
Okay, and remember, Steve Jobs was CEO for the second time from 1997 until 2011 when he passed away.
Wow.
Okay, and then for the next 15 years, Tim Cook was in charge, and Tim Cook basically did not change Apple's ethos
Mm.
on privacy. And this is interesting, right? Because while John Turnus has been appointed or anointed as the new CEO, he hasn't. Did he take over? Or is that in September
No,
1st, not June,
it's
not
in
June
September.
1st?
Yeah, it's in September.
Yeah, it's in September, right? But for all intents and purposes, he's not going to be taken over. He's going to be read into every important meeting from now on, right?
For sure.
Because why would they keep him out of the loop? It would just be stupid. So the point here is that Apple's privacy positioning in the context of all this work they're doing in AI still remains core to what they're doing. And the reason why I bring this up and the reason why I went through that progression is because that's like a third generation now CEO that's saying, you were worried about it. The market may have been worried about it. Our competitors thought we were going to give in and give up just like they did. But at least for now,
They didn't.
we are going to build privacy into everything that we do because it's important to us. But this is one of the other reasons why on device is so important, because
Exactly.
if it's on device, it's on device. And Apple will say that, like, for the hard work, like for simple stuff, anybody can probably do on device AI for small requests, right? But for the bigger stuff, it's going to go to an Apple private cloud compute place. But Apple says there only the relevant data that they need to actually process this stuff is going to be used. They're not going to store any of your data, and it's not made accessible to Apple. So it's probably encrypted at some level or just blocked. So this idea of privacy is still core to what they're doing. And again, another differentiator
Yeah.
for Apple's implementation of artificial intelligence on device than anybody else is doing. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ron. You were
And
going to say something.
in this regards of privacy, on device works really, really well, right? Like I
Has
think,
to, yeah.
like, and that's really funny that the transition goes towards privacy and not trust, right? Because it's also another advantage, right? To actually get lower cost because you don't pay for token anymore. You just create the token by yourself, basically. But yeah, but privacy, I think, is the biggest gain here, right? Much more important than just cost, especially if you want to compete in the enterprise. If you want to get, business clients, they do care a lot about privacy and and not sharing their data with anyone. And so I think it's something that Apple has been definitely really, really strong on, and they will keep being strong. And so this narrative works really well with, okay, we are going to do AI on device, right? It makes complete sense. And yeah, so I think this is completely coherent. And now I really want to see what's the implementation look like, right? How is it going to look like actually? What type of product they are going to launch? How we are going to use Apple Intelligence. Maybe we could strong harm in a way the bigger models and tell them, like, look guys, if you want to be plugged into our system, we're not going to share the data with you. So you get to find a way to use our anonymous data, or they are going to find a way to do that. Maybe, right? Let's see how it goes. But once again, that it really looks like OpenAI and Anthropic are going to have a hard time in the next 5 to 10 years. It's maybe not 5 to 10. It's too long, but maybe 1 to 3 years. They are going to have a really, really hard time. It's not going to be easy for them. They have so many people who are building competing solutions to them, right? But like strong companies who believe something different, right? Who have the distribution, who have the ecosystem, and we can do huge stuff, right? Like much larger than what Anthropic and OpenAI can do. Like even if the IP were at $1 trillion, it's still 4 times smaller than what Apple is, right? And they don't have a billion. They don't have a billion devices in the world. They don't have 50 years of experience running a very large tech business, right? So it's strong competitors, right? Like.
Yeah, and can I also make the point here that, remember, one of the things we talked about last night was Meta, and Meta going out to raise money in the tens of billions of dollars to finance their, and again, we went through their finances, $135 billion of revenue 3 years ago, $200 billion of revenue last year, but still not enough money to fund out of cash flow. Apple has $100 billion or more in the bank.
Huge cash flow.
And a huge cash flow as well, so they can fund stuff that other people cannot fund. And that's important too. And remember, the other point that was being made about this, and that's just, and again, that's just Apple being just more fiscally conservative than some of these other companies that are out there. But here's the other thing too, is they said that they want to make this into a developer platform. And you have to go back to Microsoft and Steve Ballmer just literally running across the stage screaming, developers, 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 because that's the way Microsoft won. They were everybody wanted to develop on Windows because Microsoft had the tools to develop. So does Anthropic, have they built developer tools? I don't know the answer to that question. And do they have an ecosystem? Remember, one of the things that OpenAI was talking about was building a phone. And also getting into the robotics business. This was something that Anthropic has not even mentioned. They may be doing it in the background, but they haven't mentioned it yet. But Apple's already there, right? So on all of their devices, now they may be able to, in my head, I keep saying on-prem, but it's on device. They want to do on-device AI. But if they can build a developer platform for this, and one of the things they're saying is they're going to give small developers no cost access.
Okay. Oh, okay.
To Apple's next generation foundation models. So if their apps meet certain, so again, I don't know what the exact criteria are, but if their apps meet certain size and program criteria. Okay. Wait a
Okay, okay.
second. Oh, I thought for a second. I thought
Yes.
like I was gonna check my thing. I'm like, what did I do?
So I'm I'm
Martin's gonna
showing you.
Martin's gonna yell at me. Martin's gonna yell at me.
So,
Don't yell at me.
sorry to interrupt the live, everybody, but Michael, you keep moving left and right, and so we keep losing you on the small window that you have. And
Do you
because
know
I'm
what? Do you know why?
tired,
Do you know why, Mark? Do you know why?
tell me.
I am sitting in the single most comfortable chair I've ever sat in my whole
Yeah,
life.
I think it's the most
And I'm
comfortable.
just
Yeah,
trying to
I love
get
this chair.
comfortable. So I'm sorry if I'm moving around a
So that's why now you can see your window, and so please stay in.
little. That's why you did this. Wait,
Exactly.
maybe I should go over here. I don't know.
Because I've been like chipping like to move you here and move you here, and now I'm tired of doing that. So please just stop moving.
Sit still,
Exactly, sit still.
crazy kids.
But yeah, no,
Okay,
sorry to
so
interrupt you.
that's no. So I was going to say, so that's actually interesting to me is that they want to make this a developer platform. It's not
Yeah.
clear to me what a small developer means,
Okay.
but I'm sure they'll figure this out. And the real question is like, how much control does Apple really want to keep over this AI stack, right? Because if essentially they're using other people's foundation models,
Yeah.
what
But
Apple's going to focus on, it seems to me. Sorry, go ahead.
what does foundation models mean?
So
Like
just
in,
like OpenAI, ChatGPT, all this kind of stuff they're going to use for the backend. Gemini is a foundation model, right?
so which one as a
So they're
developer
going to have
could
access to all
use?
that stuff.
Okay, but it can't be GPT 5.5 or Claude Opus. It's gonna be way too expensive. So it can't be
Yeah,
the frontier.
sorry. They're gonna have access to those models, and Apple's gonna build based on those models. Apple's gonna build their own foundational model,
Okay.
okay, that can work with Apple models. Gemini call another compliant provider. So Apple's gonna set up a system that says like, here are the things that we can work with, and if you want to work with us on AI, here are some of the models that are compliant with us. So it may
Actually,
mean that like you have your own access to it. Sorry, go ahead.
actually, they could ask Anthropic or Google or OpenAI, hey guys, install your model on our servers and pay us
And
for
we'll
that.
take care.
Yeah.
We'll take care of the compute. Right? Same thing.
And plus,
It's like what they do to Google and search.
yeah, exactly. And you pay us for that, right? Like, and if you want us to distribute like OpenAI models, you actually need to pay us for that, right? And it would be crazy if we get to this point where the model actually pay to give their model for free to Apple users, which is basically what happens with Google, right? Google pays
Google search.
Apple to have Google search as the default search engine. It's absolutely crazy when you think about it, but that's the way the deal is structured. So maybe that's what they have in mind, right? With this like developer, with the developer ecosystem. But still, even if they install that on their own servers and they bear the cost, it's still going to be expensive to run Opus or GPT 5.5, like the big models, for free to a lot of people. So let's see how that goes. But I definitely love the idea, right? And maybe at first it's not going to be the best models. Maybe they are just going to give access to the smaller model for now, right? Until the cost makes more sense, and then once again, like I see a world where open source model becomes small enough that we actually can run them and good enough that it actually can be helpful. Like really, I see that as a possibility.
So can we run through a couple of things that actually make both the artificial intelligence business important, but also what makes Apple differentiated? So, excuse me, Apple has always cared about the interface to their apps.
Yes.
Right? They have what's it called, a HIG. I forget what it stands for, but it's like some sort of standardized way to build an application that they wanted to make it look like an Apple thing. That interface layer has been very important to Apple. And in this case, when it comes to AI, they want to control the interface layer. Okay. And privacy, also very important. They want to control the privacy layer. They don't want to outsource that to anybody. They don't want to say like, well, Gemini says it's got privacy in it, so we're fine. They're like, no. We're building our own privacy stuff. Gemini has to adapt to us the way we're going to want to use it. But from a model standpoint, they're like, we don't know how to do that so good. And that's bad English on purpose because it should be so well. But they don't know how to do that really well. So they're like, we're going to loosen our sort of grip on this. Right? Because if you go back to their announcement on 2024 at WWC, they were like, yeah, we're going to build our own models. We're going to have stuff. We're going to control over the whole stack. But in this case, what they're saying is they're kind of giving in, which is one of the things that we posited last night. And we've kind of said all year is that they're not good at this.
Mhm.
but they're still pretty good at privacy and they're still really good at interface. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing they want to keep for themselves. And that's where they're differentiating themselves, right? Because
Mhm.
you must imagine that their ability to build a better interface layer is going to be better than what Anthropic and what
Yep.
OpenAI can build.
Yeah,
Is that
and
fair?
once, so I think first of all, yes, definitely. But second of all, I think like because they control the interface, they can control the distribution at a scale that Anthropic and
Yeah,
OpenAI will
same.
take years to reach, and like
Yeah, same,
billions
same,
and
same.
billions
I
and
agree.
billions of dollars, right? Like a company like Anthropic and OpenAI, they need to spend a lot of money into training models and also distributing the models, right? Like all of these
Mm,
FDEs and all of this marketing, all of that, that's not cheap at all. It's crazy expensive,
mm,
right?
mm, mm, mm,
And
mhm,
so that's why like they have massive capex just on the distribution side of AI, right? And then the onboarding and the customer support and like all of these things, like you need to pay a lot of people to be able to onboard a company with 1,000 engineers who are going to use Cloud Opus tomorrow, right? This is taking ton of
yeah.
time and ton of resources to actually do the sale, which is much easier for a company like Apple. There is no salesman. There is very limited customer support, and we don't need to talk to them. Right? They are here, but
Mm-mm.
things just work, so we never talk
Yep.
to them. And because they control the interface and it's super sleek, and they are really good at putting the right button at the right place, you do actually find it, right? They can just put the right AI at the right place and you actually find it and it actually be useful. And I think we don't need a lot of use case to actually start using Apple Intelligence much more, like more and more and more and more. I think just one or two, right? And I think as of today,
Yeah.
it was not the case in 2022, but as of today, thanks to Agent AI, it may be the right time, right? Because they don't need to innovate, they don't need to come with the ideas. They can just look at what people do with their Agent AI, right? And they can say, okay, look, don't connect your OpenCloud to your calendar to tell you what are the meetings of tomorrow. It's stupid, right?
Right.
Like you can actually use Apple Intelligence for that, and because they control the interface and they control the OS, they just install that directly on your Mac, and they give you a perfect interface, right? Like the integration is the best in the world. Is the one thing that is easy to use, easy to implement. It feels like magic. It works on your phone, it works on your Apple Watch, it works everywhere, right? They do like they do an amazing experience, and now all of a sudden it's better than Cloud Code, it's better than Codex, it's better than OpenCloud, it's better
Yep.
than everything because they control the interface and they also control the distribution. So that's why it can be really powerful. Right here, if this idea of works, if it's become really useful, once again, we don't need a lot of use case, I think, to be really hooked, to be like, okay, this is actually great, I'm gonna use that much more often. And I don't actually need to go through the struggle of installing Codex and all of these things. This is a strong
Yeah.
competitor, really strong.
It is. And think about it. They said
Mm,
they want this to be like a developer platform. So
yeah.
if you think
Mhm.
about all the stuff that you've just mentioned and
Yeah.
all the things that they're either intending to build or have already
Yeah.
built, what
To me, it's
does
huge.
this
Yeah.
yeah, but what is it? Let's can I get a little bit more granular? Like what does it make possible? Well, if developers have AI features that run on device,
Yeah.
let's say you're building an app, and they work offline, like the robot, we know that's possible, depending on how much data it needs and stuff like that.
Mm,
Then you can avoid these token costs by going to these huge LLMs. This is one of the big bennies of it, one of the big benefits of it. I shouldn't speak in colloquialisms. Um, and it protects your user data. So
yeah.
now you can build apps that can do things that you couldn't have done before because you can now give it your own data because that data never goes anywhere since it stays on device. And you don't have to pay for all the tokenization stuff because you're not using a public
Mm,
LLM, using something on
exactly.
device, which you've already paid for at some level. So you don't have these token costs. I feel like I'm moving out of frame again. Uh-oh.
Yes, be careful.
Anyway, but my point is that like for a developer, this opens up some real interesting
For sure.
possibilities,
For sure. And
as
who
you were
knows
saying.
what and who knows what Apple has in mind, right? Like maybe they see a crazy
Yeah.
integration, maybe they see like something huge. I think that for somebody like you, for example, who vibe coded an app in a couple of hours, this is
Yep.
amazing, right? Like because now,
Well,
like
so yeah,
yeah,
because now,
mm,
sorry to interrupt you, but now the Apple also introduced the concept of, and I'm not sure if they released this
mm,
of a little app called Apple Intents,
okay,
Intents. What do you intend to do? And what it
okay,
does is it makes because in the old days, meaning yesterday before WWDC, Siri only had access to Apple apps
Okay. Yeah, now we can
for a
actually
bunch of different reasons. So now they
this
can
is
have access to a bunch of different apps,
think
third-party
about like
apps.
think about like how in a way this is so weird because like you have OpenClaw first of all, right? Who launch the
Yep.
revolution in agentic AI, like at scale,
Yep.
I would say, right?
Yep.
And then that triggers everything else, Cloud Code, Codex, absolutely everything. So then all the apps actually want to be accessible from these AI agents.
Right.
So they
Right.
open
Right. Right.
themselves up, they build API, they build MCPs, they build all of this connection. And now Apple gonna say, okay, we're gonna use it ourselves. Thank you very much for building everything. Now we are going to connect Siri to all your apps, and now you don't need Cloud Code or Codex or OpenClaw anymore because Siri can do absolutely everything, and it's way better
Everything.
interface, and you don't need to go through the struggle of installing everything. This can be really really strong. It's such a strong value proposition, right? Like it's just going to bypass absolutely everything, and actually right now must be maybe the best time to launch it. Best time in terms of his use cases because people do use OpenClaw on Match, right? And so we
Yeah.
can just bypass OpenClaw. But the big limitation is there is no on-device model as of today that can be as good as GPT 5.5 or Claude Opus. We still need the frontier model as of today, right? So they need to bypass this limitation, and so that's why maybe like the hybrid model between okay, we give you a small model to start with, and then you upgrade to somebody else just until the open source model catch up, and then we are actually able to do things. Maybe the way to go to just install the behavior, install the habits, to go to Apple Intelligence, to start using it, to create the workflows there, right? And once again, I don't think we need a lot of workflows to be hooked and to start using it absolutely all the time. I think actually I would use it. I would use it a lot if it could connect to
Why
a
not?
few good things for me. Yep,
Yeah.
because
Why
it could
not?
be so
Why
easy.
not?
It could be so easy.
And if it's on device, it's going to be faster. First of all, but
Yeah,
second of all, more
it's true.
privacy, less
Yeah.
data leak. Everything's going to be better. Yeah.
Yep. So no,
Okay.
that would be really, really big. That would be really big. Super interesting. Super interesting. Let's see how it goes.
So you remember when we were doing the podcast before we were doing the podcast, and we were like, how many topics should we cover today? Because maybe there's not a lot to talk. But we always, the first topic is always like almost an hour long.
But
What
this
are
one
we
is,
doing?
I mean, this could be a revolution.
No, come on. We could talk about this for 2
yeah.
hours. We could do more. There's more to talk about on this, but
Yeah.
let's leave some of it on the table. I want to do, if that's okay with you, I
Yes,
want to do a
yes.
little bit of the OpenAI stuff because I do want to comment on this.
Let's do
And
it.
I think this is interesting. So yeah, because I do think this is weird. OpenAI via Sam Altman and their chief research officer, what's his name? Jacob Pachoki. How come
Yes.
like these guys don't have real names? Do you know what I mean? Like none of them are named like Martin Runford. Just a regular guy name. Do you know what I mean? Like what are we doing? Anyway, which is probably what people are saying about my name. Waits, what
Yeah.
kind of? Why can't you just
What
have
is
a
it?
regular name? What are we doing? But the point is, they published something called "Built to Benefit Everyone,"
Mhm.
which almost makes me feel like they're just about to pickpocket you. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like, trust me, my hands are in the air, like I'm not even close to your pocket, kind of. Do you know what I mean? If you have to tell everybody that you want your AI to be built for everyone, and that this is your plan, maybe it's not your plan. Like maybe it's not, but maybe it is. Who knows? Again, we always say this, like, for God's sakes, Sam, call me. 1-800 Waits. Just call me. You can call 1-999 Martin Runford. Either one of us. You need message help here. Why are you telling everybody you're not going to pick their pocket? Nobody thought you were going to pick their pocket. Like, just stop it. But the point is that I think it's a weird time, particularly because Sam Altman has been under fire for the past 6 months.
Which,
To
by the
come
way,
out and write an article that basically says, I'm a good guy. Sorry, go
which
ahead.
basically slowed down a lot, right? Like since they hired the new CMO, everything went quiet. Like there's no more
Until this
craziness.
You think the new CEO was sleeping when this thing got written? He was sound asleep. He was away on vacation.
Until this is so funny. Like we just waited for him to go on the weekend to do something crazy again.
I think he's in Wyoming at the Amankani. Let's just do it now. The guy was like, "Oh, for God's sakes, I can't even take a day off," and you publish this stuff.
You know what I feel right now? You know what I feel right now? Like
Tell me.
based on our conversation that we just had just before with Apple, like possibly like getting into the model race at some points, right? Because this is where it's going.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like what OpenAI and Anthropic are doing in a way is kind of irrelevant because Apple and these companies, they are going to put so much pressure on them. Like right now, their only mode is to be able to build frontier AI that are way better than everybody else, right? But is it really going to be the case in a couple of months, in a couple of years? And even if it's the case, does it really matter if it's so expensive compared to open source solutions that are good enough, right? And in a way, it feels like so small compared to the greater game that is played right now, right? Because
Yeah.
there is way bigger question right now, like much bigger than our plan to build AI for everyone, or we do this thing to benefit humanity, or Mythos is so dangerous we can release it, and
Right,
then
right,
and then
right.
I heard that
And
they
it's
are going
released
to give it
tomorrow.
away, and it's released tomorrow. I would say, guys, don't like just stop that. Focus on building good models, because in 6 months, in 12 months, in 3 years, we don't know when, but you may be in huge trouble, right? I'm actually really concerned. Like the more I see what's going on in the AI space, the more I'm concerned for OpenAI and Anthropic, or
We've been
the
talking about
more I
it. We've been talking
believe,
about it for
yeah,
months.
yes,
Martin, imagine this.
or wait, just
Oh, sorry,
one
go
thing,
ahead.
or the more I believe they will need to launch open source model as well to be able to compete. Like they may need to change their entire business model, maybe.
For sure. The business model is going to
Yeah.
have to change. Think about this.
Mhm.
Let's say McDonald's, just because everybody knows McDonald's. No, or like let's say Five.
Guys.
I don't even know the names of these restaurants in the United States anymore because I haven't lived there in like a lifetime. But let's say like the most famous burger place came out and they were like, in our lab, we developed a burger that's so good. It will addict you to burgers every day until you die. We can't release this burger. It's just, we don't know what to do. Like we tested it on
Yeah.
rats first, and the rats like they turned into Ronald McDonald. Like we don't know what to do with these rats.
Actually,
it's insane. All they do
this
is
is
eat burgers. So, do you know what I mean? That's all we're
this is a
doing.
great point. This
You
is
know
a
what I
great
mean?
point. McDonald's doesn't do the best burger in the world. Definitely not, right? But they are the most profitable and the largest restaurant chain in the world, right? There is
But they also
tons of
don't have
people.
to do this. But they also don't have to do this hyperbole thing where they're like going,
Exactly.
"We have a secret burger. This burger's insane. We're not going to release it." And then one day they're like, "It's a triple Big Mac." Do you know what I mean? And it was just like a regular burger. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, it's true. You're right. Right. But like, once again, in the grand scheme of things at the moment, it feels so small. Like, you really like,
It
guys, like
does.
you I mean, focus on what Apple just like focus on what Apple is going to build, or what Google is building, and all of this thing. It's so much bigger. It's so much more powerful, right? And
It's more ambitious at
yeah,
some level, right?
it's much more ambitious. Yeah, you're right. Actually, this may be a good way to put that. Like, if your ambition is just like build AI for everyone, it looks so small compared to Apple, which actually we are going to build on device for everyone. Okay, like maybe actually in the public eyes, it looks bigger and stronger and more scary as well. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what they want, right? Like even if that's a positive message, it's create fear and anxiety that AI could actually be bad for you, right? So that's why we need to build something good for
Yeah.
you, right? But it's still a message based on fear and anxiety. So maybe for the general public, for a B2C audience, like, okay, this is what works best as of now, but behind the scene, building AI that can run locally on your machine, this is 10 times more powerful. Like in the long term game, this is way better, right? So yeah, no, you're right. It's probably the CMO is on holiday. Like he worked for 2 months and needs a break, and we just do crazy thing again while he's away.
Can you imagine? I feel like Sam Altman's like a kindergartner who's coming to the teacher's office every day and was like, "Hey, you know what I want to do to the other kindergarten class? I had this great idea, and I was just going to light everybody's pants on fire. I can do that, right?" And the teacher's like, "You cannot do that, Sam. Just go back to your seat." And he comes back the next day. He's like, "I have another idea. I want to cut everybody's hair off with like those shears. I just want to shave everybody's. That's okay, right? I can't do that either. Okay. I have other ideas. You're going on vacation? When? Okay. I don't have any ideas left." And then when the teacher goes on vacation and there's like a substitute teacher, all hell breaks loose in kindergarten with this kid who has all these ideas. Anyway, if you read through this thing, Martin, one of the things that they're saying is that they're getting, like, one of the reasons why they're talking about this is because they feel like they're going through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of where AI is going, right? And phase 3 is this idea of where just AI research gets done by the AI itself.
Okay.
Which in and of itself is not like an insane idea, right? But I don't, again, who was it that was telling us, like, this whole idea of any kind of company being ready for full-scale AI implementation?
That's impossible.
Feels like a pipe dream.
I mean, I think, like, just take your own use case, right? Like we talked about that on the plane earlier today. Look, you wanted to build an app, okay? So you installed Codex. It took a couple of hours, right, to go through all the integration and the installation, and you started to prompt it to build your app and all of these things. But along the way, you made some mistakes that actually prevented you to actually use your app, right? And this mistake doesn't come from mistake that you purposefully made. It just came from a lack of knowledge of how to build tech with AI. And then two things happened. First, you had to stop because you had to get back to work, right? Like you had real
stuff, KPIs I had to meet. My boss was yelling at me for mucking around.
So you didn't have more time to actually spend doing that. And the second thing that happened, because you didn't have more time, you didn't have enough time to actually learn how to do it properly or how to improve upon what you had already built. And this is the massive problem as of right now. Real team has real KPI, has real work, and so we don't have enough time to actually learn how to implement AI, and there is a huge learning curve, right? It's not impossible, but you do need to learn it, right? There's stuff that you need to learn. It's you can't just install Codex and then everything works. It's absolutely magic. It's not the case at all, and that's the same for every other providers. You need to have some tech knowledge, which takes time to learn. I mean, a lot of time to learn, and most people do not have the time to learn them. And so, which means this is the biggest barrier, and that's why I like imagining that most companies are just using AI right now and it's easy and all of that. Even if we put aside all the governance, all the privacy, all the cybersecurity stuff, even if we just agree that it's okay, right? And we just focus on how many people just use AI into a company, it's still a really, really, really small because of the learning curve.
Yeah, and we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and I periodically ask now people when they come on our show what they think about the FDE model, right? The forward deployed engineers. And I'm like, okay, now I really get it, because if there had been an FDE, sitting with me, they would have been like, oh, you need a subscription to the API key. And unless you do that, you can write all this code, but you're not going to be able to work because you need access to the API to actually run this thing. But what other product? Like, imagine if you bought like a new car. You bought a Porsche 911 convertible, and you're like, I can't figure out how to use this thing. I just need a forwardly deployed driver, an FDD, to teach me how to use this car. Or like an oven at home, and you're like, I need a forward deployed oven guy. You know what I mean?
That's actually like doing FDEs is
proves the point that it's too hard.
But it's too hard. Exactly. It's just like, okay, I accept my project is way too hard to implement. I need to send you an engineer, right? It's a forward deployed engineer, not a forward deployed intern, right? It's not an I for intern or for just somebody,
like
right?
Backup guy.
Exactly. No. We need to send an engineer to help you. So actually, like maybe let's clarify for the audience. When we say using AI, we don't mean using ChatGPT to help you with something.
ChatGPT, right? No. Because I can do that on my own.
This is that's level 1 of using AI, and at this stage, everybody can do that. When we say using AI here, we talk about creating new software to help you with your work, to create workflows, to automate stuff, right? Like to say, okay, every day at 8 a.m., do this thing for me, or treat my emails, or answer to my emails, or update my CRM fully automatically, right? As to have an agent that actually can do stuff on a schedule or triggered by some events. There's plenty of stuff that you can do. So actually you have agents to do things for you autonomously, and also like actually acting on something, changing values into the database, creating documents, like actually doing things. This is like that's how people implement AI as of today. That's the best use case of AI right now. And to get there, you need an engineer who can actually help you do that, right? And it's not easy at all to do this kind of thing.
No.
And yeah, that's the biggest gap right now, I think.
So a couple of more topics I want to bring up on this essay that these guys wrote, because I do think it's important. One of the other messages that they want to get out is that, and this is in the context, Martin, remember, of a few days ago, we did a whole segment on, I believe both Dario Amodei and Sam Altman came out and they were like, we need to slow down development of this artificial intelligence thing because the guys that are running it are getting a little crazy. It's like, you're the guys that are running it. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, right?
Michael, this is such a good point. Do you think at some point, at some point people are going to get tired of this narrative? People are just going to be like, you know what? It's so annoying, just stop that.
So again, there's this fable that we call the little boy who cried wolf. You know this story?
Okay. No,
it's a story of like this little kid in a small town somewhere who like wanted to get attention. This old story. It's a fable, right? Okay. And he's like, a wolf is coming, a wolf is coming. Everyone got scared and ran in their house or do whatever. And there was no wolf, but the kid got the attention. And then like, who knows, a week later, a day later, it doesn't really matter. He was like, oh, wolf's coming. And everyone was scared because they were scared of the wolf because this was before people understood like what wolves were. It's a long time ago. And there was no wolf. This is the little boy that cried wolf. And then one day, there was a wolf out there. And the same kid was like, there's a wolf out here. And everyone's like, yeah, right, sure. And everyone got eaten alive. The point is that like every day these guys come out and say something like, we shouldn't move this quickly, or like this one is too dangerous, which again, Amodei said back in 2019 about an OpenAI. So the thing is they keep doing this thing. But I want to finish this and then address your question. OpenAI is coming out and saying that they're really afraid that artificial intelligence is going to be controlled by a small number of companies, and that they argue for broader access, lower costs, privacy, and all this other stuff. And it says that, you know, at some level, it may require some kind of international coordination, like the nuclear power stuff. We've spoken about this, or like nuclear energy and nuclear bombs. There is the IEAA, or I can't remember what it is.
Yes,
the International Atomic Energy, so International Atomic IAEA, right? Including the ability these guys want to slow like development and blah, blah, blah. Why would they do this now? Think about it for a second. Why would Sam Altman and what's this other guy's name? Yuri Prohashka. No, he's an MMA fighter, right? I can't see it.
But it's close, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yuri Prohashka, same guy. I mean, they're cousins. Yeah, they're cousins. Does that guy have like one of those samurai things on his head? Maybe not. Anyway, but the point is that like, why are they coming out and saying this now? Maybe they just filed an S1.
Yes.
Giving them an option to go public. So even though they haven't decided when their IPO is going to be, maybe they're like, oh, AI for all. And then they IPO and everyone's like, these guys are, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's so dangerous. It's so powerful. Actually, maybe like all of this masquerade. That's a word in English, masquerade. We can say that.
We'd say masquerade, but yeah, same word.
Masquerades. Okay, so that's
so the French stole that word from English, but yeah, fine.
No. I think that's the other way around. Like the millions of other words that you guys stole from our beautiful language.
Come on, what other word? There's no other word in English. Like what?
So I think this masquerade is going actually to stop once the IPO, right? Maybe actually the goal is just to
then it's like full steam ahead, right? Yeah.
Yes, maybe actually like we are going to see like some of this crazy narrative around how AI is dangerous until the IPO, and then once they cash out, then it's gonna slow down. Maybe, right? I don't know, but
who knows?
I feel like at some point the market is just going to get tired of that. Especially,
I think the market's already tired of it. You are.
Maybe. I feel I'm super tired. Like all of this. If Anthropic releases Mythos tomorrow, I mean, I don't believe Anthropic at all anymore. It's over. It's over.
They're going to release it tomorrow. They're going to release it tomorrow,
So
right?
it's a leak, right? That it's a leak. Let's see. Like we will talk about that probably tomorrow. But and maybe that's our main story, because I think this would be like massive bullshit from Anthropic. But in case they do, I really like, how can we trust them? Like, how anybody serious who run a business can be like, we are going to trust you, right? So, and once again, it's not the first time, right? So I think the only reason why all of this is still okay, Michael, is because we do not have a solution to spend $5,000 tomorrow and to have a model that's as good as Claude Opus 4.6 for free. That's not possible. The day that becomes possible, everything changes. Because if tomorrow you tell me, Martin, you can buy this super great computer for $5,000 to $10,000 and install on that a model that is as good as Opus 4.6, and you can use as much as you want for your entire team for free, that changes the entire game. But because today, to be able,
that's what Apple's trying to do. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Today, the cost to be able to do that is not $5,000. It's more like $50,000 and plus, right? It's way too expensive as of now. So this is the only reason why we can still pay attention, I would say, to OpenAI and Anthropic, right? Because we still need them to use the frontier model that they build, which are the best in the world, right? So if you want to use frontier AI, if you want to enjoy all the benefit of AI, you still need to use Anthropic and OpenAI as of today. But once again, Opus 4.6 was good enough. If tomorrow we have an open source model that can do that, we just need to pay $5,000 and then we can install it for free for our team. This changes the entire game, and that will force those guys to actually start changing their narrative, change their business model. And so that's why everybody who is building towards that kind of offering is a huge threat to OpenAI and Anthropic to me. Because as a client, I would buy tomorrow. I think even $10,000, I would greatly consider it. Like if it's 10K.
Well, think about what we would need to pay somebody to do all of the work that we do with AI right now. Is it 10 grand? It's way more than that.
It's way more than that. It's way more than that. And how much we need to pay Anthropic in API to actually do the work that we are doing right now? I think it's like a couple of months we would spend the 10K, right? And so that's why if tomorrow I spend 10K one time, I have a computer that can run Opus 4.6 for free forever, done. Really, it's such a strong value proposition.
Or even something where it costs like $10,000 today, but you upgrade every year for $2,000.
Exactly.
Or every time they come up with a better model, you can upgrade. You know what I mean? Or there's an upgrade path. You would do that too.
I would definitely do that, right? It would work really, really, really well. And just because it doesn't exist yet, we still pay attention to what Anthropic is doing.
But it doesn't mean it can't exist. And I think that Agnes is working on this stuff, right?
Yes. So
your grandmother's grandmother is working on this.
So Agnes do that. Apple wants to do this as well. Like there's like a lot of people who work towards that. It looks like the Chinese are still building really large models, so they don't really go that direction yet, right? We don't really know what they are doing, but they could tomorrow launch something that is much smaller. The MOE may be the solution to that as well, but it looks like there's a lot of people who work towards that, right? And so if that becomes possible, this is going to be such a strong value proposition that's just going to redefine the entire market, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what else do we want to talk about, Martin?
I think we talked about a lot of things today.
We did.
Very interesting things. So let's see tomorrow if Anthropic actually launch Mythos, because if they do, I mean, well, actually,
look, you're sitting here paying attention to whether Anthropic launches Mythos, and I'll be honest with you, I'm much more interested if Mickey D's launches this killer hamburger that I'm talking about, because it's way more interesting to me.
I mean, if they do, we have a subscription to Anthropic. We can try right away, right? Like, and maybe we try to tomorrow. But like even if they do, once again, Opus 4.6 was good enough for a lot of stuff, right? And Opus 4.7 fixed a few things, great. Opus 4.8, no idea what was the improvement. And really, for all of my use cases right now, it's good enough. Like this idea of if open source models are just 6 months behind the frontier models, if that's okay and that works, I really believe more and more into that, right? And
I don't disagree.
if once again we start to be able to implement them at a much lower cost, and also the access to it is better because Apple built an amazing interface, or Windows does that as well. They are really the two in the best position right now, right? Because if they do it properly, you don't need codecs, you don't need cloud code, you don't need any app, you don't need any harness, you just use the OS itself, right? So this is so strong. So they are really the two in the best position here. So yeah, that's like, I mean, AI V2 is going to be really interesting. Let's see how fast it comes. We have no idea, but AI V2 is going to be really interesting. It's going to change the entire game. So yeah, let's see.
Let's see. Okay, let's leave it at that for tonight, Martin. I want to apologize to everybody for me moving in frame, out of frame, in frame, out of frame. I don't know. I'm not good at framing. Anyway, and thank you, Martin, for your patience in trying to somehow adjust that little box so that I'm in it or I'm out of it or who knows what's going on. Anyway, that's it today for AGTP Daily. Thank you, everybody who joined us live. And for anybody who's going to watch this afterwards, give us a thumbs up on today's video. It definitely helps us in the algorithm. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And follow us on all of our socials. Are you on X? What are you doing? Why aren't you watching this on X? What is wrong? And on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you would like us to discuss on our upcoming shows. And again, always ask us questions. We love when we're live to get some real-time feedback and some real-time interactivity. As we said, we normally go live every day at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow we will pre-record, and Thursday we will also pre-record, but we will still publish. And we will always tell you if we are not going to publish, which again, somebody would probably have to die if we weren't going to publish. Because I know that if I died, Martin would be like, well, shame, I'm going to go live.
Yeah, exactly. I need to talk about Claude. I need to talk about
Claude. Is it 4.9? I'll deal with Michael's death later. It doesn't really matter. Anyway.
Informing people about the latest tech news is way more important. We have to do it.
Important. I agree. I'm telling you, Martin, if I pass, keep going. Anyway.
But yeah.
Martin, thank you again always for this. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, so we will still publish the video. So we are going to record earlier during the day because unfortunately we won't be able to do it live tomorrow. We'll record earlier during the day and still publish on the YouTube channel at 11 a.m. Eastern time on the same day to inform you about the latest tech news of the day, still today.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you, Martin. My name is Michael Waits. I'm going to say goodbye for now.
Yes. See you, everyone, on the live on Friday. Michael, we'll be live back on Friday. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.